Det är en flygbild från 50-talet. Nej, jag tror att det är en sån att någon flög och sålde bilder bara. Ja, Daniel. Jag tänkte, du behöver inte. Ja, det är det. No, now I'm here. I will not leave this. I will take over now. So I will do like. Yeah. Ja. Ja, jag håller på i en kvart hur som helst. Men istället för dumma frågor kan jag fortsätta i 5 minuter och prata istället. Det kändes som att det var lite mycket frågor och grejer sist. Och lite presentation. Första. Gjorde du inte det? Nej, hallå. Vi ska prata. Mm.
Men jag kunde ha låtit dem formulera frågor som publiken var och en. Men vi startade 10 minuter senare. Så jag vågade liksom.
Nej, det är lätt hänt. Alla går och dräller.
So that's a good thing.
Sett den här bilden som har gått.
Mhm. Men den har du inte sett, tror jag. Men du har sett någon liknande?
Ja, men okej,
Typ
det där
någonstans.
är för länge sedan, eller?
Ja, flyg 50-talet.
Ja. Nej, men jag har sett bild på din gård. Jag kunde se att det är din gård.
Ja,
Bara det.
ja precis. Ja, men där känner jag. Fast den är utbyggd nu då. Den är utbyggd. Så det där huset där, det är ju lite större. Mittenhuset där, så att det har byggts ut mot ladan. Och så bak så har det byggts ut ett så också. Så det är som ett L här. Så det är dubbelt så stort. Typ.
Jag såg bilden i december. Så.
Ja, den dyker nog upp här sen. Mm.
Så den tillhörde din familj då? Nej.
Nej, ja.
Har du köpt det?
Vi köpte det 2015. Eller 14 köpte vi. Sen flyttade vi in 2015. Nej, vi köpte det 2015 måste det ha varit. Och så flyttade vi in 2005.
Jag såg dem som ansvariga och bjuda in.
Mm.
So we start in 1 minute. 1 minute. Jag tyckte det lät lite fjösigt i förmiddags när jag satt där och tänkte, hör de det bak? Men det kanske finns högtalare där. Jag tycker fortfarande det hörs fjösigt så här, hör de där bak?
Jo, men det är
Men
så.
var satt du? Satt du lite...
Jag satt nog där. Typ. Det funkar. Det var ju högtalare hela vägen. Ja, det funkar.
Okay, so could you please sit down if you are entering? We will start. I expect that most of you were here in the morning, and we will run this session in a similar manner, but perhaps some of you weren't. So I'm going to tell you what will happen in the next 1.5 hours. So I'm the session chair, and my name is Daniel Pargman, and I come from KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. And we will have 4 presentations in the afternoon session. And basically they each have 10 minutes to present, and then a few minutes for questions, perhaps clarifications. And at the end, we will have half an hour. And I would again ask everyone in the audience, as well as the authors of the papers, to listen to each other's presentations and for you to listen to all of them and to listen with attention. And also perhaps think about questions. And you will get bonus points if you can find connections between presentations and manage to pose a question tying 2 or more papers together. That would be wonderful. That's probably all we need to know for now, or we will get back to a question session later. We have 2 runners here, also 2 student volunteers, Vladimir and Arthur. Yeah, okay, they will cover half of the room each. So the first presentation is Jens Malmodin, and this is the longest title, Just Measure It, Electricity Consumption, Measurements of Electronic Devices and Estimates of Data Center and Network Services for one household. All that text for one household.
Yeah, great. So I start? All right,
yes,
thank
welcome,
you.
welcome.
Jens from Ericsson, the Swedish company. So I measured all electronic devices in my household, which I will talk about. I used to talk about, I've written a few papers about the global ICT. So now we are more down to earth, just my household. But it's really interesting. Just Measure It is the short title. So once upon a time, I measured the standby of my own mobile charger. So long story short, after a few years, Ericsson shipped like 40 million mobile phones with smart chargers. What gets measured gets done, as they say. So this was a really good, lucky measurement. And today they are cut by a further 90%. So, I mean, the power consumption was cut by 90%. An inspiring study for my work was the Swedish study of, the key here is the 40 household measure for a whole year. So if you want to measure the energy consumption of a device, you need to measure it over quite a long time. Well, the whole year, actually. So that's what I started to do. What they found out in the old Swedish study was that standby consumption of PCs, TVs was still high. And this was like nearly 10 years after we had done our little work. 4 PCs, TVs used for 20 hours, consuming 800 kilowatt hours. So this is the results compared to what I have measured now. So I can safely say, I think, that PCs and TVs, the standby is now fixed. They're all under half a watt. 0.3 watt seems to be the magic number here. Nearly the same consumption of PCs, TVs. We have nearly twice as many, but I mean, you can only use them for that amount of time. So it's still like 20 hours of use. We also have 4 smartphones used also nearly 20 hours. Half of that time is actually with screen shut down, Spotify's music streaming. I will try to do this very fast here. So this is the results. Number 1 consumer, my son's gaming PC, 350 kilowatt hours. Number 2, the living room TV we all use. And you see the usage hours there. And number 3 is actually the home network. And we don't have only one box, we have 3 boxes, and they consume 300 kilowatt hours together. And all other devices consume almost the same. Another way maybe you will remember is the home network, TV and PC, gaming PC, and all other devices together. It's like 1 solar panel each, actually. Slightly more than 300 kilowatt hours, around that. And then I also estimate the data center service and network services for a household. They are also like 1 solar panel each, so 5.5 solar panels. I will not have time to go into all this, but I mean, the networks, one subscriber, mobile subscriber, average in Sweden, 40 kilowatt hours times 4, 160 kilowatt hours. The fixed, including the home network, is about 2 times as much. Without the extra routers we have, that would be a fairly, the same. Estimated data centers, you can just take the Facebook, any consumption, divide by number of users, and then we multiply with number of users in the household. Note here that Akamai and Netflix platform, they put out nearly 30% of all data, but consume only 0.5% of the world data center electricity. So fairly efficient related to amount of data. This is how I measure it. You have the Bluetooth smart plug. I use Bluetooth to not interfere with the Wi-Fi, consume 0.5 watt. And then you have the professional multimeter. That was crucial for the project because then I can check that all measurements are accurate. And this is how it looks like in the smart app. You have the power meter, and then you see, I can correct it with the professional meter there. This is how it looks like when all meters were on, measuring the home network, TVs, and so on. And here you see my work PC. This is, it's before lunch. So 2 hours of ordinary work and 2 hours of video conferencing. So video conferencing, my setup consumes 5 watt extra. And you see a cup of coffee adds actually 10 times as much. It adds about 50 watt hours. So you boil 0.5 liter of water, that's 50 watt hours. Of course, video conference, of course, coffee. The reductions here, potential are very low. Very boring measurement, the home, the fiber modem and router. It's like a flat line, but something happens here. Here you actually see 6 months of measurements. So 1 month ago, there was an update on the software there. So it looks like it tries to save some energy. Not that successful, a few percent, but they're doing something there. This is how it looks like. You have the desktop gaming PC. You see there's certain levels. It depends on what game my son plays. So you have the first-person shooters up there at 250 watts. The TV is like 120 to 170 watts, 140 watts about average. And my work PC with the display is very stable. I have to talk a little bit about this. When you measure your home router and you look at the average data traffic, you see we consume about 1 gigabyte per hour on average. So if we turn this to a measurement, watt hour per gigabyte, and we try to estimate other use with other data rates, all the way up to downloading a PC game with full speeds, over 400 megabit per second, we got these watt figures. But actually, since I have this measurement ongoing all the time, I can see, that's not how this network equipment works. They're pretty much stable on all the time to be able to provide very fast data rates. And then to this main router, there's about 15 to 20 devices always connected, depending on how you look at it. I should probably also say that, if you try to do the same download over Wi-Fi, it consumes a little bit more. About 2.5 watts if you have a very good signal, and up to 5.5 watts I measured with a poor signal. So that was me running around the corner, hiding in there and trying to do that. And then the data rate drops below, so I miss a few megabits per second there. If you look at it from how it looks like from my end, there you have my home network, and then we deployed the fiber modem last summer, and I was like kind of a geek. I went to them and made them open the cabinet and discussed all the technical details. I know how the network works. I also called the owner of the access network in the small town. But they thought, funny, someone who's interested in this. So when you're streaming then, there's been a lot of talk about this, and it still is. This is how I see it, what will happen. I look at all the Netflix figures from Netflix. So on average, when I stream, it's about 2 watts in their data center, also including the Amazon platform they're using. And I only measure like plus 0.1 watts. That's like the average number when you do something. Doesn't matter what. And here we are actually talking about in the order of 10 megabit per second. So we are only using like a % or 2 of the capacity of the network connection. The good thing with streaming is that you are not locked to your TV. So you can stream to a smartphone, and then you can save a lot of energy compared to the TV. Compared to cable TV, which we have never had, but I used to have it back in the days. And one connection consumes 20 watts. The thing with this one is you can only do TV. The thing with the fiber is that you can do everything, also TV on top, for actually a little bit less power. However, beware, there's, as I say, you can find incorrect information about the internet on the internet. For example, streaming. So there's figures you can find from anywhere 100 watts, that's the Carbon Trust white paper they have, up to like several thousands of watts. 6,000 watts was that figure I found. But beware, this is, if you go in here and measure things when you're streaming, this is what you will record, so only a few watts. And I should say, this is how I measured after 2 months, which the paper is based upon. You see the dark green, what I measured, then you extrapolate to full year. But now I have measured for 6 months. Not everything exactly, but you see the, and maybe not a surprise, the figure still stands it's almost the same total, but we watch a little bit less TV and use the PCs a little bit more. And I think the reason for that was, there was a World Cup in football when I did the measurements. So we watched more TV than I did, at least. And in the end, I think sometimes I add too much in my papers, I know that, but I also added the carbon footprint. That's typically the first question. What about? So for us in Sweden, with a green electricity mix, that will not be much, 50 kilos. If it was run on world average electricity, it will be a ton. But the embodied footprint, so I went down like 20 years ago and looked, how much have we bought and how much? So it looks to be, yeah, it's a smartphone. We have 4 years, seems to be the average lifetime. So we buy one every year, one laptop every year, if you include also the work and school laptops. And then, yeah, that's it. This is per year, but me flying here, I'm sorry, I've flown here, it's the same footprint. So reductions, we can buy a new TV that consumes half. We can also skip all the Wi-Fi and go for a fixed network, but I think that's problematic, because it's very hard to even get those kind of devices, because the operators, we are kind of locked into their box and so on. So not much, you can also buy a very large TV with very high quality, 8K and high dynamic range, a lot of brightness, then we can consume double. However, the thing I have done in my home, I switch heating equipment, save 12,000 kilowatt hours per year. And of course, the solar panels add 20,000. So in comparison, it's not much. And then everybody's over 18 here, good, because meet Lilith. I'm sorry, but she's the reason I need to buy this new gaming PC. I know, but the old one is like 8 years. It cannot handle the this new game. So but it connects to a lot of things said. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.